Welcome to the Poutine Politics 2019 year in review.
We're doing year in review?
We are doing year in review.
Well, that was Adam. My name is Mike.
No. That's not the official start. That's not the official start.
Oh, God, that's great.
Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name is Adam.
My name's Mike.
And it's time for the Poutine Politics 2019 year in review. So, what I decided to do was I looked over the episodes that we've recorded so far. Not all of them, because we don't need to delve that far into the election because it was a disaster on its own and we really don't need to revisit it, right?
It was fun. I voted PPC. I didn't vote PPC.
No. I thought you were going to... See, I thought you would have voted the Rhino Party, but we didn't have a Rhino Party person.
Oh, if...
You could write in.
I would have voted.
You could have wrote in the Rhino Party, even though there was no Rhino Party in our writing. So what I'm looking at is kind of a little bit of follow-up update on some of the topics that we covered, and maybe I guess some new information that's come up since we did the episodes. So I've got a list from kind of like our first released episode, which was about social media and censorship, and going through certain different episodes all the way up to our episode on vaping.
Ooh.
Okay. Let's just kind of go piece by piece. And we'll have a bit of a discussion on each of them.
Okay.
The new information that I felt was relevant in regards to social media and censorship from a Canadian perspective had to do with the new parliament and the new ministers. The mandate letters for the ministries came out, and the Minister of Canadian Heritage mandate letter.
Okay.
Yes, Canadian Heritage. The wording that was in the mandate letter is as follows. Create new regulations for social media platforms, starting with a requirement that all platforms remove illegal content, including hate speech, within 24 hours or face significant penalties. This should include other online harms such as radicalization, incitement to violence, exploitation of children, or creation or distribution of terrorist propaganda.
Wait, why did it go to the Canadian Heritage? Or is that just like their own mandate?
I don't know. I knew that this was in one of the letters because someone I know put it on Facebook. But I didn't know which mandate letter it was in. So I was when I was on the page with all the different ministry mandate letters, I'm like, okay, well, is this under the one? Like there was one for like online something or other, and I'm like, well, it must be under there. And I went in there, and I'm like, no, it's not in there. Like, is it national defense? No, it wasn't in there. What was in foreign affairs? No. Like I think I looked at like 6 or 7 of them before I finally got to Canadian Heritage, and I'm like, what does this have to do with Canadian Heritage?
Once it's posted, it's history.
Yeah. Exactly. This has been Heritage Minute. So the language when I saw this posted from people was, this is the government trying to take away our free speech.
It's already in the charter. We have freedom. We don't have free speech. We have freedom of expression.
Right.
And the charter also includes hate speech.
Yes. And then and the argument to that was, well, there's no laws about hate speech. Or there's no, and it's like,
yeah, there is.
No, there's no hate speech law in Canada. But hate speech has a definition, okay? Hate speech has very specific tenets to it, I guess.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, whether it's race, religion, sexuality, those kinds of things. Like, it's speaking in a harmful, negative way about specific groups, specific peoples, right? Like, hate speech is pretty obvious. In my point of view.
Yeah, in order for it to really be prosecuted, it has to be pretty black and white.
Yes.
I mean, it is obviously a gray area, but like, I don't think you're going to get somebody that's going to get in big trouble about a minor thing necessarily. Although I've seen some pretty bad things before, so let's just not go there. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, anyways, I got in an argument with people on Facebook about it.
I keep telling Adam to get away from Facebook.
This was on a post that a friend put on Facebook, and so I ended up I didn't have the argument with that person. I had an argument with their friends that were commenting on it. Because like in particular, the wording from the mandate letter does include incitement to violence. And so one of the people is like, well, there's already a law in the criminal code about inciting violence. So why do we need it? Why would we need laws to do with hate speech? Wouldn't it just be under inciting violence? And I'm like, but hate speech doesn't necessarily involve inciting violence, and inciting violence doesn't necessarily involve hate speech.
They're sisters, so to speak, but they're not the same.
Well, okay, an example that I used. Let's say you were at a Toronto Maple Leafs game, which I know you'd never be at, but anyways.
Was I sensed something?
Yeah, exactly. That was your punishment. That was your community service. You had to go to a Toronto Maple Leafs game.
Fair enough.
Anyways, so let's say you're at a Toronto Maple Leafs game and you're a neutral party. So you're observing this, okay? And there's a big group of Toronto Maple Leafs fans and a big group of Montreal Canadiens fans. And in the middle of the game, out of nowhere, so one of the Montreal Canadiens fans riles up their group of people and goes and riots and attacks the Toronto Maple Leafs fans. And I'm like, that's inciting violence, as well as an actual violent act and things like that. And the person comments after that and says, nope, that's a hate crime. And I'm like, how is it a hate crime? Toronto Maple Leafs fans are not a race. It's not a religion. It's not a sexuality. It's not like, that's not a hate crime. You can incite. That's why I was like, you can incite violence without it being involving hate speech.
Well, a better example would be like if your team won the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And you went outside and you say, "Hey, let's topple this car." That's could be considered a violent act if somebody's in the car. You're not targeting that person. The person's irrelevant.
Well, yeah. So that's where I said like there you can have laws when it comes to inciting violence, but that doesn't necessarily cover hate speech.
No,
because hate speech doesn't necessarily have to get to the point of inciting violence.
You can just call somebody names, and that can be considered hate speech.
Right. So now
see the rubble.
Yeah. Yes. Now the issue that I have, obviously, with the wording in the mandate letter is more so how are they going to control this?
Yeah. Good luck.
And the fines, penalties, whatever they're going to be, are probably going to be slaps on the wrist for the most part. It's very easy to avoid that kind of stuff online.
Yeah, I don't go on Facebook. It's real easy.
Well, okay. You know what? Even on my Facebook feed, I don't see like hate speech. Right?
No.
Like that's my point. You know, I'm not in like the Yellow Vests Canada group and stuff like that. So that was kind of my update on the social media and censorship. And I'm like, good luck.
Yeah. Best luck to you.
Exactly. Electoral reform. Dead. I think it's dead. It's over.
Yeah, we got no chance. I mean, we might revisit it different methodologies. Like that'd be a good debate. But other than that, I mean, nobody's doing it.
Well, okay, so Quebec is apparently contemplating a referendum on electoral reform.
So they're going to think about it? Are they going to bring it to committee to think about the process in order to reestablish the process in which it's going to be thought about?
That's right.
Perfect.
Okay, so maybe we will see another attempt at electoral reform in this country, in Quebec.
About the provincial and above.
Provincial, yes. I expect it to fail. The note that I made about this one was electoral reform was that big campaign promise of 2015, right? It was the campaign promise, this will be 2015 will be the last election under first past the post, and through the whole process, whoever you want to blame for the whole process, it failed. So what I wanted to compare it to was what is the election, or what is the 43rd election's albatross? Equivalent to electoral reform.
I have no idea.
Pharmacare.
Pharmacare. Okay, yeah, that's not going anywhere.
No, exactly. I think pharmacare is this election's electoral reform.
Oh yeah, it's because they've got to deal with because they just promised the world. They're like, oh, the stabilization payments. Oh, well, we're definitely going to retroactively give them back to Alberta. Where's that money coming from?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm on the line that they did deserve it, but what's done is done.
Never mind the fact that they're introducing that the tax cut or tax credit, the increase of the basic exemption, which is supposed to reduce the taxes for like 20 million Canadians, and it's like, okay, well, again, tax cuts are nice, but they're so short-term benefit for long-term loss.
Tax cuts do certain good things, certain bad things, but where's this money coming from? Like, did we win our own lottery?
Maybe. I mean,
that I wasn't aware of.
Like the estimates now and they might even be lowball, is that in order to fully implement pharmacare across the country will cost $15 billion. Now,
Yeah.
how much of that comes from the federal government in comparison to the provincial governments, because healthcare is a provincial mandate. And that's the other problem with pharmacare too, is you've got to get the provinces on board with it.
Fine.
It's fine.
There's no problems there.
Anyways, I think, like I said, I think pharmacare is that's the albatross for this parliament, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Climate change.
We decided to get rid of our wind energy.
Yeah, you know what? That wasn't
a move that cost us money.
that wasn't even the note that I put down. I should have put that one down. The bats, man, they have to save the bats.
Every time, I don't know why, conservative governments, when they involve environmentalists, I'm just like, guys, you need to stop. You need to, I have yet to see a conservative government do it right on environment.
Brian Mulroney.
What did he do? Oh, yeah, that's because before it became a contentious issue.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I was thinking the acid rain stuff. I mean, that's environmental.
Yeah, that was pre-90s.
Yes, that's true. That was before. Oh, you thought acid rain was bad. How about the end of the world?
Well, the Conservative Party in the 90s is like, hey, there's this problem coming up. We need to take care of it. Let's do it in the most economically feasible way. Why don't we still do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, if only things were easy. So the climate change thing, I didn't even think of the turbines. I'm like, that would have been the easiest thing to put in here, was about the cancellation of the turbines. But I figured by this point that's already old news, because that's just the way political news is. It's like by the end of the week you forget about it and it's on to whatever the next thing is.
Well, people who have been listening to us realize that I don't pay attention to the current politics because I don't care.
I suppose that's true. So yes, there is the at least $230 million that we're spending on tearing down wind turbines or canceling contracts for wind turbines, including turbines that are already built and we're basically ready to be turned on, and they're being torn down. You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
that frustrates me. No way. Like,
It's the bats.
I would have no problems with it if they weren't built or if you didn't spend the money already. But don't. Another story for another day. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, but the note that I did make in regards to climate change, because it was something, it was a news article that dropped just last night, was that Irving Oil. So.
Oh God, yes. Tell me about my favorite province. Go ahead.
Irving Oil drops pledge to cut carbon emissions by 17% from 2005 levels by 2020. So this was a pledge that they made back in 2009 as a part of the Copenhagen Accord, and instead have replaced it with a goal to keep climate change performance competitive with rivals, which means keep polluting, boys. As long as we're doing just slightly better than whoever we're competing against,
Irving
then
Oil.
that's okay.
Irving Oil, the company that's like, no. If you don't give us this discount, we won't make trillions of dollars. Please give us a subsidy again.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not a fan of them.
No, that's They basically control the entire Maritimes as well. The Irving family.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
One province in particular, but yeah, most of them are times.
Yeah. There you go. So we had 2 updates about climate change.
Yep.
Housing.
I was wrong about the PC Party platform. I misread that. They deserve a worse F than the Liberal platform. Carry on.
Thanks. I kind of figured. I thought maybe that was one of the things that you felt you might have been wrong about.
Yep. Definitely was wrong, but that one. Found out when they released the platform and went, oh, no.
As a part of the National Housing Strategy, there is going to be a program called the National Rent Program. What do you think the National Rent Program is going to be?
We're having a National Rent Program. Okay.
National Rent Program.
Okay. No, I don't. Yeah, just tell me.
Okay. So the National Rent Program is expected to help up to 300,000 low-income renters over the next 7 years at a projected overall cost of $4 billion, assuming that the provinces and territories kick in their portions to the program.
Of course, they have to. Yeah, okay. Of course, they can't do it themselves. No, listen, we're going to promise this, but other people have to do it for us. Okay. Why don't they just say that we had to get $2 billion in donations in order for to get the program to work? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this was a story on the Toronto Star's website, I think also yesterday, and it because it was mentioning a deal between Ontario and the federal government about for worth $1.4 billion to help low income renters, and it's essentially a subsidy for those renters where low income households, there has not been guidelines determined yet as to what what qualifies as low income, but the expectation is the average subsidy that would be received per household that qualifies for this program would be about $575 a month.
Or you just build a house.
Yeah, you could certainly do that.
Build an apartment building, problem solved.
That would be a lot more beneficial.
But let's give them the subsidies so that way I have to pay for their rent.
Not only that, let's give them subsidies so that it gives landlords an excuse to increase the rent more.
Yeah, because isn't it you're just going to create more supply? Yep, that's good. Good solution. Put more supply. Yep. Let's not increase more demand, not decrease supply.
Yeah.
Genius.
So, yeah, anyways, that was my housing update.
Fantastic national renting strategy.
All right. What is subsidies? Because subsidies
Let's put us further in debt, so that way landlords can make more money. Perfect.
Yeah,
10 out of 10.
That's the free market, man. Don't you know? Free market.
Free market. Not thinking about that as a free market. Okay, carry on.
Yes. Next. Marijuana legislation and legalization. I guess I put the word legislation on it.
They opened it up.
Yes, that was exactly what I put down. So, Ontario, after I guess failed isn't exactly the right term for the licensed lotteries, but botched. We'll call it botched.
No, I'll call it failed.
Well, I mean, you know what? Some of the stores did open and are running, so it's not an entire loss. See, if I say failed, I mean write it off. It's over. Done. That's
a catastrophe.
Exactly. Okay, maybe that's a catastrophe. That's Armageddon.
Right? Listen, if I get 45% on an exam, I still failed.
All right, fine. Fair enough.
It's an F.
Okay.
Big F. Just like them losing money on marijuana.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Yeah, you say that. Our Solicitor General. You know who our Solicitor General in Ontario is, right?
No.
Doug Downey.
Oh, okay.
So there was an interview with him, and essentially saying,
are you worried about the money that's been lost? Ontario Cannabis Retail Corp lost $42 million in its first year. Is that going to change?
This is not a revenue generator for us. We've been mandated to deliver this service, so we're delivering the service as safely as possible.
Or you could have just stuck with the program.
So what you're saying is the other 9 provinces figured it out, but we can't?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't blame it on the federal government when the other provinces are making money.
Doug Ford's a businessman. So he understands business.
Yes.
He understands how it works.
So in case you're not aware of what the changes are, they're planning on eliminating future licensing lotteries, and they're going to open up the process. So the idea is that from now until, I guess now might be January 1st, until August 31st of 2020, a single business owner or a group of say like a corporation or something like that, can own up to 10 stores or open up to 10 stores. That limit increases to 30 stores up to August 31st of 2021. And then from that point forward, they can have a single owner essentially could own as many as 75 stores.
That's awesome.
Yes. And one of the other things that was in the press release about it was also that licensed producers would be able to open stores at their facilities. So I thought that was good. Like that's an extra revenue stream for the people that are growing, as opposed to having to, sell their product wholesale, right?
Yeah.
It's a convenience thing, maybe based on their location, but that's a small thing.
But
that's a small thing.
Like you could literally, it would not matter. You could literally have one guy selling pot.
Yeah.
On a street corner.
Yeah.
And only be able to produce so much, only be able to sell so much in a day, and I can make money off that.
Yeah. Well, the point that I made, I mean, you know what, I'm assuming they already do this, but I really question whether it's to the same level as cigarettes, is taxes. Are the taxes on cannabis products at the same level as cigarettes?
Just
Like, if
make
the government-
a profit.
Well, that's what I mean. Again,
You can charge whatever you want to.
Yes, but people still buy the black market, right?
I understand that they'll still buy the black market, but I don't care. Just charge whatever you want to. There are people that'll do it legally.
And that part
Just
I
like
agree
people
with.
buy cigarettes legally from
But if-
on the reserve.
but if
You're
the
not going to stop it.
I feel like if the government wants to make money at this play, they need to just do it with taxes. The government doesn't sell cigarettes. Convenience stores sell cigarettes. Gas stations still sell cigarettes. If you're gonna open the market up to anybody, I mean, yes, is there still a licensing process? Sure, but it's not going to be a lottery. They still have to get a license to sell the product. But just the government should have stuck with the Ontario Cannabis Store being in LCBO brick and mortars. If you want the online store as well, sure. But they could have sold the product in the LCBO, no problem, and they should have left all of the rest of it to private business, and they can just collect the tax money, and there's your profit. Honestly.
That would work well as well. There's a few different options that you can make this work, but Doug Ford, the businessman, can't figure it out.
No. In case you weren't aware, we're still losing money on marijuana in Ontario.
How?
Just
How?
saying.
How? Just jack the prices up. Double the prices. Who cares?
Yeah.
We'll make money. Like, this should not be a loss.
Yeah. WEXIT.
Oh, WEXIT.
Not a big update. Follow up on this one. It was so this the thing that I looked at is the thought of Alberta separation possibly to blame for businesses deciding to leave or not come to Alberta in the first place?
Oh,
Might be, maybe not.
but there's another more important follow-up. Did we get approved?
Did we get approved for what?
Or WEXIT?
The Facebook pages? No, I never got anything back saying that we're approved for the WEXIT Facebook page.
I held my breath.
Hell, anyways,
That's the key update.
that is the key update. No, we are not. We are not on the WEXIT Facebook page yet. Maybe I'll double check that when we're done here. An example in regards to businesses deciding to leave Alberta or deciding not to come to Alberta in the first place. Now, again, maybe I didn't really look into like how big of a business this is, but this was one that I know I saw multiple stories on. So a business called Wattpad, an online depository blog type website for people to create and publish stories and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's like a social media platform as well. But it has to do with like creative writing and stuff like that.
Okay.
So apparently Calgary was in the running for them to open their second headquarters, and they decided to choose Halifax over Calgary. And apparently over WEXIT concerns and the cancellation of tech tax credits in Alberta. Now I imagine that the tech tax credits, man, say that 3 times fast, probably had more to do with it.
But they're lowering their corporate tax.
Yeah, but the tax credits that were available to technology companies in Alberta that have been canceled would actually cause a technology company to pay more in taxes even with the corporate tax breaks.
Oh, I'm not denying that. Yeah, probably.
So,
I mean, it might have been a financial decision.
Or yeah,
maybe they just wanted to say they're Haligonian.
maybe.
I would.
I mean, Calgary has a growing tech sector, but I have heard that Halifax has a growing tech sector as well. So I mean, maybe it is a good choice that's not ridiculously expensive like Toronto or Vancouver would be.
Yeah.
And really, when you're an online business, probably doesn't really matter where you're located. They just wanted a location,
A certain population size, but
Yeah.
other than that, no.
So that again, that was like beyond that, I haven't heard a lot more about WEXIT except for possibly people that are in the movement possibly cannibalizing each other.
No.
Separating, like it's like WEXIT has separation within itself.
I can't see that some people would only agree with certain parts of WEXIT and not other parts of WEXIT.
Yeah, well, that's where we are. That's where we are with WEXIT. Really no different than where we were when we recorded the episodes about WEXIT.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's amazing. If the media doesn't talk about it, it generally goes away. And that's where WEXIT is right now. The media hasn't been talking about it because more important things have come up.
Are you sure that you're saying more important?
Well, then WEXIT? Yo, yeah.
Well,
WEXIT's not that important, okay? I
it was
understand
so
that
much fun.
Western alienation might be important. But WEXIT isn't.
It's so much fun to talk about.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Teachers strike. Ontario teachers strike. Obviously, this is pretty recent, so there's not that much new. There was a third round of one-day strikes by the secondary school teachers, which happened on the 18th of December.
During a snowstorm.
Yes. During like a really, really cold day.
So all the buses were canceled around here.
Yeah, that's right. Our school board was not on strike for that day, but yes, the buses weren't running, so the kids didn't have to go to school anyways.
Yeah, it was great.
So there was supposed to be 2 days of negotiations earlier this week. So on December 16th, December 17th, there was between the Ministry of Education and the teachers unions.
Okay.
Apparently they lasted a couple of hours and they canceled the negotiations on the 17th.
Because who to cancel them?
Essentially, the mediators that are involved are saying that the parties are still too far apart to get an agreement done.
Oh.
So what do you do when you're the Minister of Education and you can't come to an agreement with the teachers? Why? You go on Twitter and you post a tweet every 2 hours saying all the teachers want is increased salaries and we want the kids back in school. We're fighting for the kids. Hashtag strikes hurt kids.
But wouldn't the union have the same position?
Pretty much.
Like they could use the same hashtag.
Exactly, they could. They use cuts hurt kids. So that's apparently all Stephen Leachy has time for, is constantly posting. I mean, I'm sure it's not him. I'm sure it's one of his staffers, but constantly putting tweets up or Facebook posts or soundbite interviews or what have you, as opposed to, maybe taking that time and negotiating. You'd think that this would be the most important thing that the Minister of Education would be taking care of right now, would be negotiating with the teachers' unions. He's spending more time making sure that he looks good and tweeting about the teachers are evil.
The teachers' union's not doing a good job PR-wise, and the government's not doing a good job PR-wise either. I don't get how it's so easy to, like I said, just go after them and be like, we'll take the same as you, minus 1%. I'm done.
Yeah.
Our conversation's over.
I feel like.
And there's no reason for it.
If the Ministry of Education wants to keep making it about the compensation, then the teachers that should be it's like, okay, fine, let's make it about the compensation then. This is what we want, and exactly what you're saying. What you guys got, less 1%,
right? But he's trying to make it, it's about the kids. I'm like, but you're not helping the kids either. You can't stand on that platform and proclaim about how well you're doing when you're not.
When you're not negotiating at all.
Well, you're not negotiating, but I'm saying, like, even in the negotiations, you're hurting kids based on your platform. So you can't wave that banner around saying, I'm trying to help the kids. You're not trying to help the kids. You're trying to cut costs for your corporate tax breaks. The problem is that when you say, the teacher strikes hurt the kids, I'm like, you're hurting the kids. Like, you can't say that if you're hurting the kids. Yeah. You can't take the position.
If both parties are taking the low road, you can't all of a sudden take the high road.
You can say, I'm cutting taxes. I'm not giving the teachers more money because they make too much money. Okay. That's a fair argument.
Yeah.
I'm not giving the teachers more money because they always ask for more money. Okay. Yeah. Hey, listen, again, fair argument. Whatever you want to do, but don't say it's because you want it for the kids, because you're not doing it for the kids.
No.
Don't use them as an excuse.
I mean, like that's, if you didn't want this process to harm the kids, and this is where the blame can potentially be on both sides. If you didn't want this process to harm the students, you would have got the negotiating done and the deal struck before the school year started, as opposed to basically not starting the negotiations until after the school year started.
Yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around on both sides, and that's why the difference is when the teachers come out with cuts hurt kids. That's a fair argument.
Mm-hmm.
rather than
Strikes hurt kids.
strikes or kids.
No, strikes are great for kids because they stay home in their pajamas and do whatever they want.
Right.
Strikes hurt parents, especially of elementary school students who have to find daycare or take days off work because they can't leave their 10-year-old kids at home by themselves.
Yeah.
Vaping.
It's still bad.
Still bad. So, apparently there are Health Canada regulations that are potentially coming into place soon that will ban advertising in public spaces, convenience stores, and online. Well, generally online. Advertising would be allowed in specialty stores, businesses, and online spaces accessible by adults. All three of those things accessible by adults, including online spaces. So, and what I say about that is, you really can't control whether a person accessing a website is an adult or not. Not easily.
Well, if they have the COPA thing that they're dealing with in YouTube right now, so.
Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect to see much advertising for vaping on. Well, no, I can't even say that. I would hope not to see much advertising for that on YouTube. I don't think I've ever seen a cigarette ad on YouTube. So I would certainly hope that they wouldn't have vaping ads on YouTube either. But
I don't know.
Either way, that's apparently in the works.
Mm.
So kind of like I think I mentioned about, say, in a convenience store when Juul has their display case. Again, it's got the doors on it so you can't see the product, just like with the cigarettes. But the cigarettes are like black doors. You can't see through them. All it's got, it doesn't even necessarily have anything on there to say like what's behind there. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Juul case that I've seen at least has like basically a poster for Juul on the outside of the case.
Yeah.
So the idea would be that this regulation would eliminate that.
Yeah, from convenience stores. If you went into an adult store, it'd be different, but that's because you're an adult and
Yeah, exactly.
Kids.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere that is accessible by an adult. Like, I mean, let's say a casino, for instance. A casino could have advertising for vaping because that's accessible by adults.
Yeah.
Right? Anyways, so that was the one update. That was the update that I found, or follow up, I guess, on vaping, is that Health Canada's on the problem.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I'm leaving the best for last, and it's not even something that we covered.
How is it? What is it?
Andrew Scheer.
Andrew Scheer, my favorite milk proponent. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What is there left to say about Andrew Scheer?
Did you see the one speech he gave where he was like, I don't know how I became the leader of the PC party. I'm not sure. And he kept coughing, and then he bought out a thing of milk and drank it.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Wasn't that was from like the press dinner thing?
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah. When he first became.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Andrew Scheer. You shouldn't have ever been elected.
Well, he should have been, I mean, okay, you mean as the leader.
As a leader, yeah.
Yes. He definitely shouldn't have been elected as the leader. He was elected as the leader because I think the Conservative Party in 2017 was basically conceding to the fact that the Liberals were probably going to win the 2019 election, and they were expecting them to win it in a majority, not the way that they did end up winning it.
Yeah, they didn't expect the Liberal Party to shoot
practically implode.
And 1 year they're probably like, oh man, if we only ran somebody good.
Yeah, exactly. So first there was the scandal, maybe sort of scandal, about the party funds to pay for his children's private schooling in Ottawa. That story had multiple bits of information to it. First it was, well, yes, the funding was approved. Then it was, oh, well, it turns out that it was part of some sort of slush fund to do with his moving expenses when he became the leader of the party and definitely had to move to Ottawa because he living in Stornoway. And then turns out that, what was it, the party president was the one that approved the funding without the approval of the board of the Conservative Fund. And so maybe this is part of the reason why Andrew Scheer is no longer the leader of the Conservative Party, although he's still the interim leader. I don't know how that works. He resigns being the leader, and now he's the interim leader. It's like...
Well, they have to have a leader.
I know, but usually you pick someone else. Like, that's the weird... So he in the House of Commons, he resigned, and they did all the pomp and circumstance about that. And then afterwards, they had a caucus meeting, and they're like, okay, what's the best solution to this? All right, Andy, guess what? You're still the interim leader.
Listen.
What?
Andrew Scheer is a PC person who believes that publicly funded higher education for his kids is appropriate.
Private education.
No, publicly funded.
Oh, publicly funded private education. Sorry.
I didn't say
Yes, you're
private
right. No,
education.
yeah,
Publicly
you're right.
funded education.
Publicly funded education. Yes.
Higher
exactly.
education is the best thing, of course, for it.
So there's the story about that, which I remember one of the articles I read where, because this is when I think the party president was trying to defend it, being like, oh yeah, we approved it. What was the line? It was something like, it wasn't a lot of money, but it still amounted to thousands of dollars. And I'm like, that's still a lot of money to most people.
I always love those lines when they say, like when Calgary approved the Flames building their new stadium.
Yes.
And he's like, well, I know that like millions of dollars seems like a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for the city. It's like, what?
That doesn't sell it. It doesn't even come close to selling it. Oh, okay. You know who's got more money than the average person in the city of Calgary? How about the millionaire/billionaire owners? Just saying. Maybe they could pay for it for once. That would be great.
They get a dividend check every 3 months that is more than what the city's going to pay for the the new Saddle Dome. I'm going to call it new Saddle Dome 2.0.
2.0, Saddle Dome 2.0. So he resigns as party leader and immediately comes back as interim leader. And then the office expenses apparently come out, sort of. In the past year, apparently it has come to light that Andrew Scheer's his office spent about $900,000 on office expenses.
Okay.
Previous years, at least say, I think maybe like the last 2 years before, the office expenditures had been somewhere around $200,000.
Okay.
The story from people in Andrew Scheer's camp is that this additional spending was because it was an election year and there was travel and there was campaigning and there was whatever. And it's and to me it's like that doesn't sound accurate, because why would that be an office expense? Why would that be an expense of his office?
Carry on. Yep, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But he was also insurance, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know exactly. He's covered.
He wasn't actually insurance.
No, he didn't pass all the exams. It's okay. I'm an insurance broker. Trust me. Allegedly. Allegedly. Yeah. Anyways, so that's the next part that's come out, and that's the part that's still in the news.
Who cares? He
I
resigned.
But he's still the leader.
He's
resigned, but he's still. That's again. This is why I'm like, why would you not just pick someone else? Because you could allow him to kind of move back out of the limelight by him resigning and then having a caucus meeting and everybody being like, put your hands up, and we're saying that we still support him and he's going to be our interim leader. No other party's done that.
He's lame duck. It doesn't matter.
But I mean, it doesn't matter who you pick, but it should be someone else, because the point of assigning a different person as the interim leader is to take the heat off of Andrew Scheer. Because if he's not the leader of the party in any sort anymore, then the story shouldn't necessarily go away until all the facts come out. But he can back away from the story. He doesn't have to be the one that worries about it, in a sense, right?
I still don't care. I think this is a non-story.
It might, and again, in the end result, it might very well be a non-story.
But unless he's going to come back into politics somehow,
he's still running as he's still staying as the MP.
Like, I mean, unless he's going to he's trying to go back as leader at some point in time. Who cares? Let them throw him to the fire. Who cares?
Yeah, I guess.
Let him roast.
I'm going to defend him here, though.
Okay.
This is not pertaining to the money. So apparently, him and his family I think they were in the airport in Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken, and probably heading back to Regina, because that's where they're based and that's where maybe family is or whatever, wherever they happen to be going. And I guess a journalist was, quote unquote, chasing them down to try and get, whatever.
A quote or whatever.
Quote, soundbite about the office expense thing. And I'm like, bad taste. I mean, it's one thing to ask to harangue the guy on Parliament Hill while he's still working, while it's official business, but to track him down when he's with his family, including his kids, and he's got 5 of them.
Really?
He's got 5 kids.
Good job, Scheer.
Yeah. But anyways, to track him down in the airport with his family, to just kind of keep hammering in the nail and keep asking the questions like, come on, Christmas break. Give the guy some space.
But well,
That's me as someone who has a family. It's like, you know what? You're not, maybe you've turned your mind off to this stuff at this point and you're just trying to get away because it's Christmas. Give the guy some space at least for that. You know what? After Christmas and he comes back, fine, get back at it. But give him and his family a little bit of space. That's all I would say there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would never defend the guy because I've never liked him from the start. But I figured that this is something that I can defend him on.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, that was it. This is the end of our 2019 Poutine Politics Year in Review Follow-Up Extravaganza. I want to thank everybody who's been listening so far. I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy Chinese New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Epiphany. I guess Hanukkah's still going on right now, or is it coming to an end? I don't know. I don't know.
You're the one that has to release the episode.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm not going to cut any of this. Anyways, so I hope you've had a great 2019. I'm glad we're past the election. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. And I'm saying happy holidays because I don't know the denomination of everybody that's listening, and there is no war on Christmas. Despite what Alex Jones and Ezra Levant want to tell people, there is no war on Christmas.
Who's having a war on Christmas?
Christians are having a war on Christmas by themselves. And not all Christians. Not all Christians. I don't want to lump you all into the same place. I apologize if I'm lumping. So, since I don't normally plug this kind of stuff at the start or end of every episode, I figure I should, because I'm very lax at this. So, if you've enjoyed our podcasts, please keep listening. Leave us a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Stitcher, we're on Overcast, we're a bunch of everywhere, okay? If you really enjoy it, tell your friends. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram.
We are?
We are. Well, I post something on Instagram every time there's a new episode.
Yay, Grabs.
So we're there. So you can find us a lot of places in social media. Tell your friends, get them subscribed. Like I said, leave us some reviews on Apple. That'd be great. Much appreciated. And, podcasting takes time. It takes effort. And it's fun. It's rewarding. But it can be stressful, especially trying to get an episode out every Monday night. If you enjoy what you've been listening to, you can always support us in our adventure. It's not a mission, really. I'd say it's an adventure more than a mission. Adventure. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/Poutine Politics. We release the uncut versions of the episodes on Patreon. So if you're interested in hearing all of our thoughts on everything that we talk about, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but all it takes is a small monthly donation through Patreon, and you'll have access to the uncut releases of the episodes.
Hey, maybe you might convince Mike to come back to social media.
Yes, maybe convince Mike to come back. Maybe I should put that on as a stretch goal. That should be a stretch goal.
Mike has to.
If we can get to $100 a month,
Mike has to
come back on social media. You heard this here first.
I hate social media so much.
Happy New Year. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Adam because most of my friends know me as Captain Mumbles, and somehow I managed not to be Captain Mumbles here, so he does a good job of editing. And to everyone that's listening to you, I am thoroughly shocked you are. I'm very, very grateful. I just have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I can be honest, I just have fun doing it, and you're making me actually try, which is something I wasn't expecting.
Oh, well, that's good too. I'm glad you're trying.
Well, I have to do research now and take notes and write things down.
I know.
That wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting to just walk in and be like, hey, what am I talking about this week?
Sometimes it helps to know a little bit more about what's going on.
Yes, I'm not redacting for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, you know what? At least I'm the one that went over the platforms. At least you weren't the one that went over the platforms.
God, thank God.
I don't think you would have made it through it.
No, I wouldn't have.
All right. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you in the new year.